People often ask me, Zach, why do you have so many tools? And I don't have a simple answer. But I am working on my third drill press. So let's catch up to speed. You can see what I've got here is the drill press top that somebody gave me, and the base that I've already made, as well as the riser post that I already made. So I struggled through making those on the lathe. Those are some of the first things I made, and this is the rest of the build. Well, that's not what you want to have happen. Broken blade. Pretty sure. Yeah, blade snap. That sucks. That's $50 in the tank.
Do I know what I'm doing? No! Do you know what you're doing? No!
What you're about to watch is actually some of my first few minutes on my lathe. I've made a few things already. I think I mentioned that the base, I made some cuts, relief for the weld, and a little chamfer on the inside so it was easier to slide the pipe in and out. I also cut the end of the vertical down in diameter so that it fit into the top drill press mount. But beyond that, I haven't really used a metal lathe before, so I don't actually know what I'm doing, and I'm not terribly confident with this tool. I've used a wood lathe, and I actually made myself a glass lathe, and that's how this metal lathe came into my hands. I've wanted a metal lathe for a very long time, but I never really had the money for one, or the means to justify spending the money on one, I guess is a better way to put it. But when I was shopping for metal at metal supermarkets nearby, which is actually a great store, they've done me solid, one of the employees overheard that I was making a lathe, and he said, hey, my dad's trying to get rid of his, you want to buy it? And so to make a short story shorter, drove down into Hamilton with a buddy of mine, and we scored this 1948 lathe with the original bill of sale. I think it was $350 brand new. So I left there happy.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do it. So this is a cheap insert tool holder. The usual suspects. I've already got an insert installed. Never used one of these though. Gotta make some changes with my lathe. Change the tool holder. You can see that's the insert there. These are the inserts it comes with. They're all identical. I expect to burn through these. I have no idea what I'm doing. Come screw shit up with me. I have used these in a limited capacity. This is what I use to cut the foot for the drill press that is actually finished. It'll be a little bit before I know what I'm doing with any of this.
Okay, that's way out. So my cut's not square, so we'll start there. Going into these cuts, my expectations weren't too high. I'd never used this sort of tool before. I bought this one on Amazon, and I just didn't really have anything to compare it to except for that high-speed steel tooling, and I was grinding that myself. And again, I don't really know what I'm doing with this type of tooling. This went so much better than expected, and if you're a beginner like me, I absolutely recommend trying this type of tooling, because when you mess one up, it's faster to get back to working and not fiddling around with other side projects when you just want to cut steel.
So it was actually shortly after making this cut that I realized I'd messed up. The distance I measured was the shortest distance between those two pipes. I actually needed to cut my metal to the halfway point of each pipe, so adding an additional inch. I think this was a 2-inch pipe, but long story short, I cut it short. So I needed to come in and cut longer pieces with the radius kind of included so that I had something to actually weld onto. And I'm going to explain what I tried and then what I did.
Well, that's not good. We've given her summer teeth. Some are here, and some are over there now. I didn't get it on camera, but I thought I was going to be clever. I thought I was going to be able to cut this radius. Look at that. That's such a good fit. And we did get 2 cuts, but the amount of teeth we've lost, it is definitely time to use the plasma. A warning to anybody who may have sensitive eyes, plasma cutting is very bright. You may want to look away. I don't know if this proves anything. This proves nothing. I have to also mark the bottom. I'm not good at this yet. Practice, 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 practice. That looks good enough to tack together. I get really anxious when I lose things, and it's not good for my mental health. Dirty. Alright, we'll do better on the next. Well, it's dirty as frig. Well, that's ugly. But I got a lot more grinding to do. So off camera, welded it all together, made sure that these two pipes were as perpendicular as possible. And now I'm just setting up to cut myself a slit into one of the pipes so that I can actually pinch it onto the vertical post of the drill press so that I can lock the height and make it adjustable. To pinch that gap closed, I'm actually going to use a nut and bolt that I had laying around, and then a slightly larger nut to act as like a bearing block, I guess. I'm copying this design off of the other drill press that I have. If you haven't noticed, I actually already have another drill press out here in the shop. I think you'll probably see it in a little bit of the video. This is my third drill press. Apparently you cannot have too many drill presses. So just gonna get the zinc coating that's on these nuts off so that my weld can actually, be steel to steel without a pocket of that softer gross metal in between the two. And I'm also kind of cutting a bit of a radius so that it can sit closer and more flat, because the size of these bolts, there's actually a ton of pulling force on this. So there's like thousands and thousands of compression or tension. I don't know what you would call that, but big bolts, you can put a lot of power on something. I think there's a video that AVE put out a few years ago where he makes big screwy. That's a great demonstration of how much force you can apply with this sort of inclined plane or a long screw. So I've been fighting with this thing for a few minutes. I'm trying to split those nuts apart because if I don't have enough gap there, when I tighten them all the way together and they touch, I won't actually be pinching onto my vertical. So part of that is me not necessarily selecting the best materials and the outer pipe here being a little bit bigger than it needed to be. And I honestly should have chosen an outer pipe that was a little smaller, and then I should have made it bigger using the lathe, but I wasn't actually too confident in my ability to bore that inner diameter on my lathe. It's not something I've ever done before, and not necessarily something I wanted to tackle while doing this project. So we went with this route, and we needed to be able to close that gap. So making it a wider gap was the easiest solution.
That should, yeah. Cool. So that's free. Just kind of lock it where it is. Probably got to cut a little more out, but that's in place. Cool. Now to cut some of that.
I had this 3/8 plate left over from my lathe build, my glass lathe that is, and I figured it would be thick enough that it would be rigid, and also it wasn't twisted or warped. It would be a good flat work surface for the drill press. So I'm just marking out a 9x9 square. plate done, I took some time to slap everything together off camera just to make sure it fit. And now it's time to drill my final holes. Yes, it is a bit funny that I am using a drill press to build my drill press when I already have 2 drill presses. I do like to be able to work in an efficient and quick way, so when I do production work of anything, it's often fastest to have multiple drill presses set up with each bit already chucked up. So you don't have to stop and change between steps. You can kind of batch things out and move from one to the next to the next. And if you have help, it also helps people not get in each other's way as you're waiting for machines. So I always seem to find use for more drill presses. So I'm using this M10 spiral flute tap. I grabbed these off of Amazon again for the lathe build. Actually really happy with them. I like using them chucked up in the drill. They're fast and they clear out the space ahead of them, so less likely to break a tap. So that's each of our components complete. Now we just need to assemble. And like that, the drill press is complete. I'd say my major goal was a success. I wanted to have a work surface that was perpendicular to the drill bit, and when I check it with a square, it looks excellent. You guys get to watch me take some of my first chips with this tool. I'm sure the previous owner definitely got some hours in on it based on the condition, but these are my first few holes. Enjoy.